lateral ventricle. The caudate, right? The caudate, and behind the caudate is the thalamus. Behind the thalamus is the behind the thalamus. If we pull down the cerebellum, we could see it. Superior and inferior colliculi, right? So again, this is the caudate. Superior and inferior colliculi, right? We have some white matter projection tracts going through here. These projection fibers are called the what? Internal capsule. Hypothalamus is going to be below the thalamus, so it's going to be in this region down here. Also, we see the optic chiasm, so we know we're at the level of it right around in here. There's no clear distinct border here.
So the optic chiasm is at the level of the thalamus?
Yeah, so the optic chiasm is at the level of the hypothalamus here. And then the hypothalamus right on top of the hypothalamus is going to be the thalamus. So we can see this circle here is going to be the thalamus, this is going to be the hypothalamus, that's going to be our optic chiasm.
Where is the mammillary body in relation to the optic chiasm?
Mammillary body is...
So let's see, I think it's easier to see in this section here. Okay, so it's more pronounced here. So again, we see this spinal cord, then we hit a bump, we're at the medulla, right?
Yeah.
Then we hit, you see that little groove there? Here, so this is the pons, and then we have the smooth area, that's the midbrain, and then we hit this little bump here. See that little bump? So that's the mammillary body. These are the miniature breast of the brain. That's why they were called mammillary bodies. And then the optic chiasm is right here. Yeah. So mammillary body, hypothalamus, and optic chiasm. Right.
And the thalamus.
Right here. Yeah. Okay. Where's the caudate?
Inside.
In here. Right. Good. Okay. So let's take a look at this section. So again, this is going to be the caudate. These fibers are going to be the
Internal
capsule.
thalamus.
This is going to be the thalamus. This is going to be the superior colliculus. There's a structure here involved in learning and memory that's going to grow on top of the thalamus and around the lateral side of it, going all the way down to the bottom along the septotemporal axis. The structure is involved in learning and memory. It's called the hippocampus, right? Did we do this one? No, okay. So here we have a section that was cut right at the central sulcus. So it was cut right down the central sulcus. So we can see that this structure here is called the, looks like an upside down Nike check. Corpus callosum. If that's the corpus callosum, the space must be called the lateral ventricle. If that's the lateral ventricle, the structure must be called the caudate. If that's the caudate, as we move back, we're going to hit the thalamus. Then down here would be the hypothalamus. This structure would be the optic chiasm. This would be the mammillary body. This would be the superior colliculus inferior down here. Right, okay, and this would be the medulla, right, and then spinal cord. Great. Right. So now we have a one that was cut. Let's move up. Let's go this way. So this is the spinal cord. Thalamus and hypothalamus. Now we have a cut here, and we have another cut here. And what structure is this that's going to go above the thalamus and going to go around the thalamus and down? Where's the caudate in relation to the thalamus? In front of it. Do we have anything in front of us? Mm-hmm. No, we don't. All right. So the hippocampus, right? So it's going to be involved in learning and memory here. Right. So
the hippocampus just goes around the thalamus?
Yeah, it's going to go around. Okay, so I'm just going to put it down so you can see it better. Okay, so what level are we at now? Yeah, it's kind of coming into the medulla here, and then this bump is the pons. This bump is the. That means we're at the level of the hypothalamus, above the hypothalamus. Thalamus behind it would be the superior colliculus, right? Okay, good. What ventricle is this? Fourth ventricle. What structure's missing?
The cerebellum.
Cerebellum's missing. We have some Mickey Mouse looking ears. These Mickey Mouse looking ears are involved in a visual reflex. They are the superior colliculus. This is the inferior colliculus. So if that's the superior colliculus, this hole must be the
Cerebral aqueduct.
cerebral aqueduct, right? So anytime that we see the superior colliculus, that groove is going to be the cerebral aqueduct, and this region is going to be the mesencephalon, which means that this must be the mesencephalon, right? Okay, good. What's this tough stuff? Dura. Okay, now we're going to make coronal sections of the brain. We're going to cut it like this. All right. And look here. So what lobe is this? The frontal, right? And now we look in here. We see this white structure connecting the two hemispheres. The corpus callosum, right? That's the corpus callosum. This hole must be the lateral ventricle. If that's the lateral ventricle, the structure must be the caudate, right? Now let's move a little farther back. So again, we see this corpus callosum. If that's the corpus callosum, this hole must be the lateral ventricle. This membrane must be the septum pellucidum, and the structure on making the inside wall of the ventricle must be the caudate, right? Now we can kind of see a little face here. And this little face is going to be made up of this eyebrows are going to be making up the what structure is making up the eyebrows? The corpus callosum. The eyes are made up of the lateral ventricles. The cheeks here are made up of the caudate. There's a little membrane down here connecting to this structure here called the septum, and that's going to be the nose. So the septum pellucidum is going to be the membrane connecting to the septum here. All right. We move farther back into the brain, and we see a heart-shaped structure. This heart-shaped structure is going to be called the thalamus, right? Above the growing above the thalamus and around this thalamus here is the structure, the hippocampus, right? Again, we see heart-shaped structure. That must be the thalamus. We move way farther back, and we can see these Mickey Mouse ears. This must be the superior colliculus. This hole must be the cerebral aqueduct, and this must be the mesencephalon, right? Let's jump back up a little bit. We see the structure. This is going to be called the thalamus. This is going to be the hippocampus. This is going to be the superior colliculi. Great. This stuff again? All right. Now we're going to make horizontal sections of the brain. So we're going to cut it like this. All right. Look at these horizontal sections. What structure is this? Cerebellum. This must be the superior colliculi, and then down here would be the inferior colliculi. So we don't really see the corpus callosum connecting the two hemispheres anymore, right? But we still see a hole here. This hole would be the lateral ventricle, which means the structure would be the caudate. Behind the caudate would be the thalamus, and this structure here that kind of looks like we could scoop it out, and it would be like a little seahorse. It's a hippocampus, right? And it's going to go around it like that. So this white matter tract that would be connecting two hemispheres here is called the corpus callosum. This space here, this hole would be the lateral ventricle. This is the caudate. Back here is going to be behind the caudate, thalamus, and this structure here is going to be the hippocampus, right? We see the tail of the caudate. What's the structure? Corpus callosum. That means this is the lateral ventricle. Means this is the caudate, and this is where the hippocampus is, right here. the structure is involved in learning and memory.